So, do you want your Cursed City miniatures to look like they are actually in the Cursed City Uffenkan? Then you will want to watch this video all the way to the end.
That the entirety of the cosmos is accessible through each and every individual's mind, connecting to the great mind, the great spirit.
Welcome back to the channel, collectors. So by the time you watch this video, I assume you have already gotten your box of Cursed City. You have watched thousands and thousands of videos about Cursed City. By the time you've got this box and assembled the miniatures, you've seen how Warhammer TV has painted some of the heroes and some of the villains, but none of them have spoken about the red ambient light that I'm intending to paint in this video. And this is what I'm going to show you how to do in this tutorial right here. Today we're going to be using Brutogg Corpse Eater as the example miniature of how to paint this red creepy ambient light on this Cursed City miniatures. And the first step is going to be airbrushing. So I'm going to be picking up my handy dandy airbrush right here, and I'm going to be doing some airbrushing on the miniature. If you guys don't have an airbrush, that's okay too. You guys can use the overbrushing method to replace airbrushing right here. If you need more help about overbrushing, why not check out the overbrushing video right here, or links will be in the description below. Somewhere I'll put some link there. Okay? So why do we need this step? The art direction that I'm taking for this project, I want to make sure that every single shadow in this miniature has a tinge of red in it. Why do we need this red? Because I want Uffenkan to be this city where it's so creepy and everything has a strange red glow to it, just like what you see in the box art. So you ask, would this work if you finish the miniature normally and just sprayed from the bottom a red zenithal light? Does it work? The answer is no, you can't do that, because when you have environmental lighting, what you're trying to achieve is that every single element is being influenced by red. So if you look at the finished work of Brutogg, you can see that even in the non-metallic helmet, the reflected light has a tinge of red transiting to the grey highlights. And this is exactly why I'm starting to work on using a red base. So before we start these projects, why don't you go gather up these colors, because these colors right here, these colors will be the entire list of colors that I will be using for this project to achieve this eerie red glow on Brutogg Corpse Eater. Okay, so get these colors ready, alright? And we will begin. So for the airbrushing stage, we are just going to need these three colors right here. Okay, these three colors will be used and the miniature will be primed black. Alright, so let's get all our airbrushes ready and let's get started painting. So starting off with a black primer, we're going to be spraying red ink all the way from the bottom. You can use Kimera red spraying from the bottom right here, sort of like a reverse zenithal highlight. Try to get this pretty thoroughly because you want to make sure that all the nooks and crannies have a tinge of red. And do this as liberally as you need. Now that the model is coated in red, what I'm currently using is Games Workshop Evil Sun SCARLET and spraying from the bottom. I'm doing this a lot more focusing on the bottom quarter of this miniature. In a sense, I'm just spraying areas that are exposed from the bottom left hand corner of this model to sort of influence the viewer's opinion that there is a light coming from the bottom left. Right here, I'm using black ink. You can use Scale 75 Intense Black to end off the light influence to make sure that the red isn't too obvious in areas that are illuminated by natural light. And up next, I'm going to be using WARCOL's white, and this is where I spray on the areas that have the natural illumination. This is where you start to define the areas that are affected by natural illumination so that you can do the base coating in the later stages. Okay? There we have it. This is the initial light sketch. Now that we are done with airbrushing, we are going on to base coating. These are the colors that I'll be using to base coat for Brutogg. I'll tell you exactly where to place the base color so that you can achieve this result that I've achieved so far. So get these colors ready for base coating. Alright, I'm not going to waste your time to show you guys base coating because I'm sure you guys have seen a ton of base coating videos. However, I'm just going to show you guys the final result so that you guys can just follow along. Fundamentally, what I'm doing with the base coating stage, I'm going to be just base coating the areas affected in white by the airbrush. In your mind, you got to have an internal cut-off point to where this white influence cuts off, and that will be a very sharp shape. Don't worry if it looks a little bit weird and there are some transition areas that are not covered. We'll sort them out very shortly. Okay, so this is how it will look like when the miniature is base coated. When I'm painting this miniature, what I'm assuming is that there is some natural light illuminating this miniature while the red underglow and the red atmosphere is still influencing the miniature as it is right here. Next up, we are going to be doing some layering. You're going to need these colors right here for the layering, so get the colors ready and we can start layering. In this layering stage, we are assuming that there is some natural light illuminating the miniatures despite the red eerie glow in Cursed City. What we're going to do is, we're going to be targeting the areas of highlight and we're going to work them out, as well as we are going to smooth out the transition between the base coat and the transition rate so that it just doesn't look that weird. Okay, let's fix all these things and let's get started layering with brush right now. Alright, so first and foremost, we are going to be highlighting the area of the metal armor that is exposed to the sky. Currently, I'm using Fuel Blue mixed in with a little bit of Vallejo Model Dark Grey, and I'm focusing on areas that are facing the sky. How I'll be doing the metal, the strategy is anything that's facing the sky will have a tinge of blue, whereas everything that is facing the viewer or facing the camera where the supposed studio lights are will have a little bit of a warmer highlight later on. Alright, so as you can see, just targeting the higher areas, and this is the initial layer, gradually adding more and more Fuel Blue for higher highlights. So as you can see right here, the areas that are facing the viewer and the camera, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding in Vallejo Model Color Stone Grey into the mix. This Vallejo Model Color Stone Grey, in my opinion, is a slightly warmer grey color, grey-green color, and I like it that we are doing some degree of color temperature variation, especially in these areas. Okay, then what I'm doing here, I'm gradually adding even more Vallejo Model Color Stone Grey to really push the highlights. Remember, a handy tip for non-metallic metal is sometimes you just gotta remember to push the highlights slightly further to increase the midtones so that you can see and have some area to do the extreme highlights later on. Okay, so as you can see, the metal is shaping out really nicely. I'm trying to make it really beat up iron that Brutogg is wearing. Okay, so as you can see, layering on, what we're going to do is painting in small concentric circles. I'm working up the midtone to pure Vallejo Model Color Stone Grey. I'm not putting on the extreme highlights yet, but the armor is already starting to look really good. Okay? Now that we are done layering, we're going to do the most gratifying part about miniature painting. In my opinion, the most gratifying part about miniature painting is placing in the extreme highlights, because this is where it really makes the miniature pop, and I find it really amazing. So in this extreme highlight stage, we want to inform the viewer that there are strong natural lights and these lights are slightly warm. This warm light complements the red glow underneath so that nothing looks too out of place. What I'm going to be doing to achieve this effect is I'm going to be mixing in some Vallejo Model Color Pale Sand into all the warm highlights to make these guys even warmer. So for the extreme highlights, I'm going to be using these colors. Alright, prepare them, ready? Alright, so let's go. So this is my favorite part. What I'm going to be using here is I'm using Vallejo Model Color Green Brown. With Vallejo Model Color Green Brown, what I'm doing right here is I'm creating the highlights for the non-metallic metal gold. I'm also adding in a little bit of Vallejo model color pale sand. As mentioned, pale sand is going to be the unifying colors for all the highlights in this model. Okay, so as you can see, this big value jump right here, that's the extreme highlights doing its work, and you can see the model starting to pop because I'm identifying the different shapes and forms on this material right here. And because it's non-metallic metal, you can afford to push the highlights to extreme contrast. So working on another layer, I'm gradually adding in more Vallejo model color pale sand. This is why I say that this step is very gratifying, because you can really see the big jump in contrast and the miniature is starting to look even more alive. So you just need to really pick up the details and create the glints to make this miniature look even more kick-ass. So working on the copper armor that he's wearing on his shoulder, I'm using the same strategy as I did with his iron helmet. So what I'm doing is adding in a little bit of Vallejo model color Fuel Blue into EvoSUNZ Scarlet as a cooler highlight to showcase the areas that are pointing towards the sky. As you can see, it creates this red-grey, which in my opinion serves as a very nice cool highlight. Then now I'm adding in Vallejo model color Stone Grey into EvoSUNZ Scarlet, and I'm attempting to highlight the areas that are facing the viewer, creating this effect. As for the leather, I'm adding in Stone Grey mixed in with chocolate brown, and I'm gradually doing this in a very streaky manner. I want to create this tearing leather look so that Brutogg is wearing really worn out leather belt and leather straps. This is also done on the straps and also on the boots of Brutogg. I'm also going to be doing this on the boots and other leather materials on this model. As for the highlights for the flesh, I'm going to be adding in scale 75 pale flesh or pale skin. Yep. So I'm just going to define the flesh areas to make the volumes look a lot more readable. Doing on the lips here, on the upper lip, the nose and the cheek. This will take a while because I'm going to be building several tones and several hues on the skin. Okay, so I've added in a little bit of EvoSUNZ Scarlet into the mix to create this red nose. I find adding a red nose to characters really bring the characters to life. It's a little hack that I use, and I find this really useful to breathe life into flesh colored miniatures, especially Brutogg. Okay, so I'm gradually adding in a little bit more pale sand into the previous leather mix, chocolate brown, and I'm trying to really pick on the details to showcase the form of these leather straps. I found that when painting this miniature, the straps actually get lost with the metal parts, and you really want to make sure that there is a high degree of part separation to make this miniature look really damn kick-ass. As you can see, these warmer highlights created by Vallejo model color pale sand in all these metal areas really bring out the contrast, and I really enjoy this step a lot. So moving on right here, I'm going to be using almost pure scale 75 pale skin to really line and highlight the extreme areas of this model. So Brutogg is coming to the end. I hope you found this useful. I'm going to be putting him onto a scenic base, and that will be the next tutorial. So catch you in a bit. So with this strategy, you can really create this eerie atmosphere, this mood lighting for all your heroes and villains from Cursed City. I find this ultra thematic, and I hope that more people will do this in their miniature painting. I will be painting more Cursed City heroes and villains, so why not just subscribe and hit the playlist below, save it, just save that playlist because I'll be uploading all my videos for Cursed City right there. You don't want to miss a single one. So like and subscribe, all that stuff, so that you get notifications, hit the bell, leave me a comment because this really helps and tells me what miniature you guys would like to see me paint from Cursed City. So if you really want to support the channel even further, head on to Patreon and get a slew of painting related videos that I've uploaded over the past year. Alright, so support us because we're starving artists. This keeps the light on, keeps the steel running, and I hope to see you in the next Cursed City video. See you guys!